here's my take on this, and this is what I want our listeners to take from me on this. To me, all of this is basically exchanging one nanny state for another nanny state.
Oh my gosh, wait, Joel, you and I are so like I wrote occasionally when you're talking, I'll write like a word or two
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
I can remember my point. And this is what I wrote. Sounds great, but nanny state.
Yeah. Well, you even made it rhyme. That's even better than mine. Sounds great, nanny state. I mean, that could be well, we almost got the making of a country song here, Cena. Uh, you know, country music songs are all wrapped around one phrase. There's one phrase, and then they do an intro, they do a conclusion, and it's all wrapped around this one little phrase.
And that's our
Sounds
phrase.
sounds great, nanny state. I got to work with that. That sounds
Yeah, it sounds great, but nanny state. Yeah, you
yeah,
know what? I've always wanted to write a song. This could be our first.
yeah. So here's the thing. The it all sounds nice, and I deeply appreciate people that are looking at these things, but really, are we going to have another government agency that's going to mandate businesses have a wellness program? I mean, just that. Imagine the paperwork, the compliance, the licensing that would be on a
Cost,
business. Yeah,
the
the
cost.
cost. Yeah, right. Are we really going to start subsidizing organic and subsidizing non-monocrops? Oh my goodness. As if well, subsidizing 6 crops isn't good enough. So now we're going to subsidize 100. Boy, that sounds like a good program to me. Uh, and so where I am, and I know this will be a bit of a interesting take. The answer is not exchanging one nanny state for another nanny state. The answer is in just eliminating the nanny state, eliminating the intervention of the government in all of these things that these guys are talking about. Just eliminate it. I mean, when you look at the causes, or the how did we get to where we've gotten? We got to where we got because we did what we did. And what we did was ask for government oversight on everything from spit to chicken poo. And suddenly we find ourselves in an unhealthy spot. And so if we, I mean, just to take one example, um, 70, I think it's 70%, maybe it's 80% of all first time drug use happens in the public school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's huge. So why not just eliminate public education, put that back on the states? Some states will have public education, some won't. Some will have a really low tax rate. You can buy your own maybe ever get a voucher. I mean, there's tons of ways, but my point is that where do you get where do you get the where do you get the peer dependency, the social pressure, and the all of this to move a culture into where it is? Well, it starts in places. I mean, get the government out of healthcare completely. I mean, Teresa and I have made the decision not to take Medicare. We've paid who knows how many thousands of dollars in all our life. We're now, old, supposed to go on Medicare. We're not going to go on to it because I don't want the government to tell me where to go. And so we have, I guess for me, the bottom line is we've got so many people now, like us, who want to disentangle from the system and disempower the system, and yet we rather just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic instead of changing course and getting out of the icebergs.
Mhm.
And and that's what I see here. Now, dismantling or eliminating, abolishing, for example, the USDA, abolishing Medicare, abolishing the public school system, abolishing the those are, you could say, well, that's silly. But to me, that argument is more consistent and less hypocritical than simply exchanging one agency for another or one bureaucrat for another. That becomes a very dicey argument. Well, how are you going to make sure those bureaucrats are honest? How are you going to make sure that they actually do teach nutrition? Whose nutrition? Who's going to be? Who's going to who's going to underwrite the whatever the curriculum? All of those things. And the fact is, Sina, we've still got McDonald's is still building restaurants.
Yeah.
And so while I am the first to admit that the notion of getting the government out of education, I mean, the land grant universities, half the problems we've got came out of land grant universities. And now we've got 100 small universities going out of business this year. We're going to have more centralized education. Everybody's going to go to these bigger colleges subsidized by the government that are going to teach everything from, things that are dysfunctional. And this just exacerbates the situation. So let's go to the root of the problem and say, if our place where we are was facilitated by the federal government involvement, if we're going to change, we need to start reducing the federal government's involvement, period. And while that may sound like tilting at windmills, to dream the impossible dream, I actually think it's no more difficult than telling schools that they have to start teaching a nutrition program. I don't think there's any difference in the two. And the beauty of my more libertarian thought is that at least you can be consistent, and you don't have to deal with the argument of, okay, so where are we going to find these better bureaucrats? Where are we going to find these better people to run these better agencies, to run this better government? I mean, you start down that path, and you end up, it's back to power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so while I don't think for a minute that tomorrow we can eliminate federal government involvement in many of these things, I'm not that naive. I think that it does create a more precise, defensible, consistent philosophy than exchanging one agency for another agency, or one emphasis, one federal agenda for a revamped federal agenda. Friends, want to dive deeper into our thought-provoking conversations? Become part of the Beyond Labels family today by joining below. For any gift amount, you'll get access to the full, uncut episodes.
Every contribution, whether big or small, keeps this podcast going.
So join us and expand your Beyond Labels experience. Thank you.